If you want to understand what makes elite entrepreneurs different, this video is for you because I'm going to share a 1 hour long masterclass I just provided to the Utopia, the #1 marketing community on the internet for freelancers and agency owners. Its CEO, Mubu, asked me to provide the most actionable advice on mindset that I could possibly deliver to help anyone go from average to elite mindset by introducing 3 very important mindset shifts. Anyone can do this, and the effects are going to be pretty much immediate. So buckle up, take pen and paper, and for the next hour, really jot down everything that you could be doing differently to build a new identity, to expand your vision, and to narrow your execution. Because if you apply what I share about becoming the kind of person that deserves the goal you're after, by thinking a vision big enough that you're naturally pulled towards it, but also being so clear on what needs to be done right here, right now to don't get distracted and achieve your goals, you will really become unstoppable. I'm going to be sharing the whole framework and the research behind every shift. I hope you are ready because this training is going to be crazy valuable for you. See you inside. Welcome everyone to today's masterclass about the mindset of elite entrepreneurs. So Wiz has asked me to provide a whole breakdown of the most actionable kind of mindset shifts that you can have in order to really up your performance from average to elite. And what I'm going to be sharing with you in this presentation is true across the board. There's no one that is successful in business that does not have this mindset shift, right? Some of them are more extreme than others, but they all share the same characteristics, right? So the goal is that you shift how you see what you do and why you do it in order to be able to do it more effectively with less distractions and way more intrinsic motivation, which will guarantee that you eventually get the results you want. And without further ado, let's get to it. So first, I want you to understand where is this coming from, right? I'm going to introduce myself in a minute, but the goal is that you see what is the actual angle by which we are exploring today's contents. Success in business is like success in sports, right? You have to master 2 kinds of skills, the technical and the performance skills, right? For example, Utopia is a fantastic academy for technical skills because they teach you everything you need to know to build a successful agency. That is what you do: copywriting, funnel building, media buying, sales. But you also need one more side, which is the performance skills, which I know you also have a bit of that, right? Which is how to get disciplined, how to get focused, how to think strategically, the mindset, the prioritization, the emotional management. And that is true across the board, both in business and in sports. And athletes go to high performance training center to prep for the Olympics. And my company, Selfmastered, basically preps entrepreneurs for 7 figures and beyond, right? So this, what I'm going to be sharing with you, is based on the work that we have been doing, and we have been implementing this framework with a lot of 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs, always complementing what they already have. So you can be very good at technical skills, but if your performance is lacking, then you're not going to have the results you deserve. On the other side, if you're very good at focusing but you have no idea what to do with that focus, you're not going to get anywhere. You need both, right? 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 technical, 10 out of 10 performance. And everything is based on the fact that in order to be an elite entrepreneur, you got to train yourself for that, because nobody's born elite, right? Our minds naturally gravitate toward comfort, distraction, and negativity. And you know this to be true if you're wasting your time on social media, or you're doubting yourself, or every time you get a win in your business, you doubt that maybe this is not something you deserve. There's so many ways this shows in your daily work. You need specific training to consistently focus, execute at key capacity. And McKinsey & Company, which is arguably the most important management consulting firm, already in 2012 realized that in very highly complex occupations, which is how they called business, the delta in productivity between average and high performers was 800%. So between a 5 out of 10 and an 8 out of 10 was 8 times more productive. We're not even talking about elite performers or low performers. And that is in 2012. That is before the TikTok era, right? So I guess now it's like 20x or 30x. Long story short, there's a huge delta that you can capture if you train your performance. And most of performance training is all about teaching yourself how to look at your work in the right way, right? Now, who's talking to you and why should you listen to me? In essence, I was an architect that graduated very late in life, because in Spain, studying architecture is like a very fancy way of ruining your life. This is a long time ago. So I was 25 when I graduated. I was 27 when I found my first job at Deloitte. And at 29, I was already a private equity director. So what happened? I basically geeked on everything about peak performance and worked my ass off using some of the frameworks that I'm going to be sharing with you today, right? I started at 27 my career. Everybody around me was 22 because they had gone through, management courses or like simpler courses. They didn't go through the ordeal of graduating architecture, which takes on average 9 years in Spain. So I had to do something about it, and things worked out very well. And then I had like a very good career in finance until I realized that everything that I'm sharing with you is actually a very good material. And we've now been helping entrepreneurs with that, right? So it comes from experience. It also comes from research. And most importantly, it comes from practice with clients. Becoming an entrepreneur is all about optimizing the hell out of you. So your strategy, execution, peak state, your spiritual fitness, mental fitness, physiological fitness, everything has to be on point. But today is all about joining the elite club of elite entrepreneurs, understanding how they think. This is very important because thinking comes before acting. If your thinking is flawed, your behavior will be suboptimal. So the goal here is to start thinking the right way so you can start doing the right things. Make sense? Are we all clear? Cool. All right. So first, identity shift. If we want to become an elite entrepreneur, we first need to see ourselves as an elite entrepreneur. But what does that even mean? What does identity even mean? When identity is a blend of your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors, the things that affect how you see yourself and how you interact with the environment you inhabit. It's basically a reflection of your inner self and how you show up in the world. This is your identity. So if we're going to be operating an identity shift from average or untrained entrepreneur to elite entrepreneur, we need to go to the root. And the root is this. I'm sure you've seen this quote before by Marcus Aurelius, but basically says, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Have you seen this before? Have you seen this quote before? Right? Now, the question is, who are you then? Who has power over whom? If you're not your mind, then who are you? What? And this is a very important mindset shift. Well, this is more a spiritual realization. You are the self that observes the mind. And that is very important because when you observe the mind, you can choose your thoughts. And elite entrepreneurs choose their thoughts. They don't fall for the trap of having a bad day just because they're thinking negative thoughts or thinking they're incredibly smart just because things are going their way and they have positive thoughts coming to them. No, they understand that thoughts just happen in their mind and they conscientiously curate what thoughts do they pay attention to, right? The power really lies in awareness. We're not going to go as deep as that today. The idea of this slide is to make you realize that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your beliefs or your behaviors. Thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and behaviors are temporary. You're choosing them based on your specific situation. If you misidentify with the mind, you think you are your thoughts, you think you are your behaviors, you're going to suffer and your performance is going to be low, right? Because the mind, by definition, is a tool that is basically helping you stay alive. So it's anticipating things about the future or reminiscing the past, but never really fully experiencing the present moment, which is why performance suffers. And a key skill of elite entrepreneurs, and we're going to go deep into how we make this happen, is to surf the waves of your internal experience, is to understand what is the information that every thought, every emotion, and every behavior carries, so you can adjust every thought, every behavior, and every emotion to the mission, right? The first step towards building an elite identity, an elite set of thoughts, emotions, and behavior that reflect how you see yourself in relation to the environment you inhabit, is understanding that you have a choice. Does this make sense? Please let me know in the chat, because this is very important. Awesome, right? This is very important. All right, so you have a choice over your thoughts and your behaviors. Awesome. What is your mind then? Well, if the self is the sense of I and me that you experience, your awareness, The mind is what we call the thoughts and emotions that drive your behavior. And as I said, the mind is a system that generates those thoughts and those behaviors. And it generates those thoughts and those behaviors in two manners, consciously and unconsciously. Depending on which literature you check, there's 10%, 90% separation. It really depends. But you know that the subconscious, which is what hosts most of the emotions and the feelings and the habit and the involuntary body function, relationship patterns, addictions, all of that is something you are not consciously aware of. It's things that manifests in your behavior. On the other side, you have the conscious mind, which is what you are aware of, how you are thinking, how you're planning, how you're analyzing, and your short-term memory. The mind is a tool with two parts. If these two parts are misaligned, there's friction. And if there's friction, there's performance problem. Every productivity, discipline, consistency, focus problems are all mental management problems. It's because you are subconsciously driven to distraction, subconsciously driven to a lack of focus, subconsciously driven to a doubt, instead of consciously being able to rein that in. And why is that? Well, back to the idea that I shared with you in the beginning. You need to train yourself to be elite at thinking, at entrepreneurship. Why? Because you have evolved you're genetically no different from a prehistoric person. A prehistoric person was much better aligned to the environment than you are right now, which means that instinctual impulses, the behavioral shortcuts that your mind uses in order to navigate the reality, are misaligned. So we never evolved to be able to handle, a TikTok feed, which is why you have these huge dopamine surges every time you check TikTok. Why? Because you are driven towards seeking pleasure. That misalignment between conscious and subconscious is what is creating performance problem. Performance problem is like a lack of focus, lack of discipline, lack of consistency, lack of self-belief. So elite performers, elite entrepreneurs understand this. They know they have a choice, and that choice is manifesting through the right thoughts, emotions, and behavior. The better they become at choosing the best thoughts, emotions, and behavior for their route, the better results they get. As simple as this. This is how you slowly build an elite identity. And how do you see this manifesting? Through mindset. Mindset is what a lot of people discuss as the end-all be-all. The power lies one step behind, which is in awareness, in choosing your thoughts and your behaviors. Because your thoughts is basically, your mindset is the collection of thoughts you habitually think about yourself in order to navigate the world. And there's basically two mindsets, two lenses by which you look at the world, the growth and the fixed mindset. Needless to say, elite performers, elite entrepreneurs have a growth mindset in which everything that happens to them is for their own good. Every challenge is a sign of growth. Every obstacle is an opportunity to show that they're able to become better. Every effort is part of a mastery path. They learn from criticism and find inspiration in others, right? So this mindset is the lens by which you are looking at your life. If you don't have the right lens, and you have what she meaning Carol Dweck, this psychologist, a fixed mindset, you avoid challenges, you give up easily, you see effort as fruitless, you ignore useful negative feedback, and you feel threatened by success. So far we've discussed how identity is a collection of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors you naturally display in the environment you inhabit, how the conscious and the subconscious are the two sides of the mind, and the friction between both is what creates performance problems. Those performance problems are a given in the environment you inhabit because you are too much misaligned from the environment you originally genetically evolved. And a good way of looking at how powerful your mental game is, how well aligned your subconscious and your conscious are, is your mindset, right? So how positive you are about everything that happens to you. Does that make sense? Are we all clear? Are we on the same page? Because this is very important. This is one of the most important things you could ever learn about yourself. Cool. All right. So this is why Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. What does he mean? This is so profound. People miss the point of the quote. It's basically, by choosing your thoughts, you can eventually become the person you want to become. It's a matter of paying attention to the right things. Now, how do you reprogram your mind? Because this is the juicy part, right? So now we understand that we have a choice with the thoughts. How do we develop an elite mindset that eventually leads to an elite mental game that leads to an elite identity? Well, before talking about that, we need to understand how did we evolve? And this is very important because 1,000,000 years ago, there were 5 species of humans. 70,000 years ago, ours, Homo sapiens, came to basically dominate. Why? Because there was a DNA mutation that allowed us as a species to develop language. And why is language so important? Because language is what allows us to interpret reality in a cooperative manner. You create fictions and establish bonds based on those fictions. And those fictions is what creates our reality, even if they're not true. Because if everyone on this call believes that the USD, the United States dollars, is a good reserve currency and you can use it to buy stuff, you're going to accumulate it. Even though paper money or money is really an abstraction, is a fiction that we have agreed on. So the world is nothing else than a collection of collaborative fictions, especially when we are coordinating ourselves with others. So language directs our behavior. The language that we use shapes the things that we do. And this is very important because you can see language as the code that programs your mindset, the thing that you use to navigate the world. When you control your language, you have control over how you see yourself. The self-talk you develop is eventually what is going to give you the identity you seek. Which leads me to the other point. Self-talk is the most important thing to work on if you want to become an elite entrepreneur. Because the more empowering your self-talk, the better your life will be. Average performers have terrible, disempowering inner monologues. And we all have this from time to time, right? Especially when we're doing things we're not accustomed to do or things that are a little bit outside of our comfort zone. We come having all of these doubts, right? Imagine that we hit a revenue number and we just feel we don't deserve it. And we're still having that voice, you don't deserve it, you don't deserve it. And you anticipate a crash that may or may not come. Elite performers train themselves to have an empowering voice so that everything that happens to them is precisely a sign that they are elite, that they really know how to move forward, that they have the ability to create a story for their lives that really is powerful and meaningful. So the litmus test here is, do you speak to yourself in the same way you'd speak to someone you deeply care about? To your best friend, your spouse, your kids? Do you talk to yourself in the same way, yes or no? Because chances are you don't. And if you don't, it means that you are curtailing your ability for success because your performance is going down. This is very, very important. How to see if your self-talk is good or not is, again, how do you see yourself? Do you see the things that happen to you in a positive manner or in a negative manner? Do you judge yourself if things are not going the way they should be, or you don't? This is very, very important. And the way of really creating a framework by which everything that happens to you is naturally a sign that you are elite at what you do is by programming your mind through something that is called the hero's journey, right? Why? Back to this idea of language as a tool to create collaborative fictions. Every single story, and also the big fictions or the big collaborative narratives like religion, all follow a variation of the hero's journey, which is always a hero who is summoned to a call of adventure and goes through a series of ordeals, has a literal or a metaphorical death, learns a bunch of things, goes through an internal change and an external change, and eventually comes back to tell the story. That journey of transformation is common across all myths, all languages, in all countries throughout history. And if you read biographies by entrepreneurs, you notice how every single one of them, the big ones that got incredible success, saw themselves as heroes. So every time you're hit by something that is just not going the way you want it to go, every obstacle, every failure, you reinterpret that thing as a proven sign that you are a hero on a mission, that there's no limits to what you can endure, because in the end, you are going to win. And this is how you use this language tool to create an empowering self-talk. And over time, align the conscious and the subconscious to develop an elite identity. Does that make sense? This is very powerful. Do you see what was the whole arc that we created here? By seeing ourselves as a hero and understanding that every point of friction is literally an undeniable sign that you are on a mission that will eventually create success, you are able to turn every obstacle into undeniable proof that you're winning. And this is very important, guys, because when you are an elite entrepreneur, it doesn't mean that you're having elite results. Not yet. There's always a delay between results, between effort and result, between input and output. There's always a delay. But if you judge yourself within that delay, if you're not absolutely convinced that you are here on a mission, you will self-sabotage. You will fuck it up every time. No exceptions. And the best of the best can spend a decade working on something without seeing results because they know for a fact that they create the conditions for them to win, they will win. And this is how you first unlock that elite identity. I'm a hero on a mission. Everything that happens to me is happening because it's helping me create a better story for my life. Come hell or high water, I am going to win. So I don't care what life throws at me because everything is for my own benefit. And over time, as you have this thing running in the background, and we give our clients a whole mental reprogramming protocol to speed this up, you eventually align the conscious and the subconscious. Performance problems disappear, and you're able to always do what you said you were going to do. You do not doubt yourself. You do not get undisciplined. You do not get inconsistent. You do not fuck it up. No, mistakes, of course, happen, but you do not think of yourself as a failure every time you make a mistake, because mistakes are part of the journey, right? So this is very important because the first step is understanding that you're a hero on a mission. And every entrepreneur, every elite performer is, without exception, on a mission. It is very important to understand. You are on a mission. You are not an entrepreneur playing business. You are in this to win. You're in this to build the most elite story for your life that you could ever think about. You're not looking for 10K a month, 100K a month, 1 million a month. You're looking to create a legacy. You're really willing to push your family, your community, yourself, humanity. It doesn't matter how big the mission is. What matters is that's truly meaningful to you. It doesn't matter. You don't need to make humans a multiplanetary species like Elon Musk. You just may want to buy your mother a house, or you want to be financially free, or whatever it is that really powers you. You have to believe it, because when you believe it, you become the hero of that story. And everything else is exponentially easier if this is well unlocked, because tribulations are tests. Mistakes become stepping stone. Failure becomes feedback, and the struggle starts to make sense. Every time you suffer, you know that it is for a good reason. Well, suffering is optional, but that's a different conversation. And you wake up every day full of motivation, knowing that you're going to slay the dragon. Maybe not today, maybe not this week, maybe not this month, but within a year, within 10 years, you're going to slay the dragon. And then everything will have make sense. Does that make sense? Are you all on board with this framing? Got it. Cool. All right. So next, so 3 questions. This is very important. Jot them down. Jot them down. Very important. First, how can you start operating in life fully believing you're a hero on a mission? What is it? Like, what are specific changes you can do? We screenshot this if you want, in order to shift from being in business to being on a mission. 2, how positive is your self-talk right now? Very important, because your self-talk, remember, is a measure of how aligned your conscious and subconscious is. And what are the triggers of the negative self-talk, and how can you remove them? So what are the things that trigger negative self-talk in your mind? Very important, because that is signaling a subconscious block, right? Let's say that, I don't know, a very obvious example would be you don't want to go to networking conferences because you believe you are a shy, awkward kid. That is the trigger of that self-talk, is precisely talking to other people. So is exposing yourself to the unknown, and that signals how can you expand your comfort zone by going to these places, right? All right, so first we have an elite identity. We are heroes on a mission. We know exactly why we are going through tests and tribulation. Why? Because we're a hero on a mission. Now, heroes do not set for mediocre visions. So this is very important. Elite performers are not pushing themselves to get things done. They're pulled towards an exciting vision they wholeheartedly believe in. This is very important, because when you're pushing yourself, there's friction. When you're being pulled by something you really believe in, you have that mission, you're that hero, you get purpose. And that purpose is what is going to allow you to tap into intrinsic motivation, which is the purest form of motivation there is. This is when you are naturally consistent, naturally disciplined, naturally focused, and you don't need money, fame, or the recognition of others to do the work. You are driven to do what needs to be done because it is your mission, not because someone else told you to do it, not because you want to have a Lambo. Lambos will come whenever you win. This is the point. And this creates a whole cascade of changes in your brain and in your mind, right? Because it changes how you see yourself, and therefore what neurotransmitter neuromodulators you secrete based on what tasks do you do, and what are the actual sources of motivation and drive that you can tap into. The more attuned you are to the vision, the better you become at the mission itself. So over time, you don't waste time, because why would you waste time? Wasting time means not doing things not aligned with the vision. If the most important thing in your life is the mission, why would you, right? This is so important because it even activates neural pathways and genetic blueprints that you wouldn't otherwise activate. Like, for instance, imagine you go, that implies you moving to a different country, you learn a new language. There's all sorts of things that happen once you commit to the mission. Very, very important. And now I'm going to give you my mission, right? So, for context, I was an architect, then I went to private equity. I killed it. I did it very well. At some point, I decided to build Selfmastered. What is Selfmastered? It's not a coaching program for entrepreneurs. It is the most important peak performance institute for entrepreneurs in the world. We're probably already number one. But what we do is make sure every single one of them wins. I'm not selling a coaching programs, and I'm not selling it because you guys need it, and I don't want to make money. I want to help a million people win, literally win in business. The mission is so big that everything that I do is based on the mission. Everything that I do is everything that the vision is pulling me forward towards making a host of decisions to make sure that in 10 years I've won. I'm not optimizing for quick cash. I'm optimizing for long-term success. This is how you do it. If you have a coaching program, which is good, now make it elite. What coaching program? Why? Why does that mean? Why is this meaningful to you? What is the change that you're making? Why would people even care about that? Why? And these are the questions that truly take you to the next level. Because a hero doesn't have a coaching program, right? A hero has the most elite institution he can think of. That is how you make, this is how you really transition into elite entrepreneurship. Elon Musk is not shooting small rockets in his backyard. He's literally sending people to Mars. See how that works? Jeff Bezos didn't create another parcel service in Seattle. He created Amazon. Microsoft didn't want to create computers. He wanted one personal computer in every home. That was their motto. See how this works? You gotta see yourself in the right way, and you gotta see what you do in the right way. What you do is important. And if you don't think it is, refine this until it is. And this is available to anyone. Doesn't matter if you're a ghostwriter, if you're an agency owner, everything that you do has a purpose if you're seeking to build it. And it's a decision. It's transitioning from needing to do this to wanting to do this. Do you want to build something meaningful? Yes or no? Well, then do it. Does this make sense? Are we all on board? Are we clear? Guys, let me know in the chat. Okay, cool. All right, so, and for example, Steve Schwarzman, CEO of Blackstone, he has a fantastic book called What It Takes. He had this quote there that it's hard to start. It is as hard to start and run a small business as it is to start a big one. You will suffer the same toll financially and psychologically as you bludgeon it into existence. It's hard to raise the money and to find the right people. So if you dedicate your life to a business, which is the only way it will ever work, you should choose one with the potential to be huge. And this, I have no idea what's current net worth. Last time I checked, it's like, I don't know, 20 billion, 25 billion. I have no idea. But the guy, safe to say, has built one of the most exciting private equity firms, right? Now, what is the research behind it? Well, there's this research by Edwin Locke, but also Latham, that they were looking at goal setting and motivation in their 60s. And they understood that when you really have a very specific but also challenging goal, you will naturally give your best, right? This is what we're saying about pulling forward to a goal. If you are setting a mediocre goal, you're going to get mediocre performance. But you have an insanely ambitious goal that is still specific and that requires, of course, focused effort to be achieved, you are going to show up at your best. This is so important. But the school system never trained us to think big. Like, for instance, why on earth would I have thought when I was 27 and everybody around me at Deloitte was 22 that I could become a private credit director in 30 months? Like, well, that happened very quickly. I thought it would happen in 5 years instead of 10. That was the original idea. But I set such a specifically challenging goal, dude, director in 5 years, that I got it in 2 years and a half, in half the time that I initially wanted. Why? Because I knew about this. I read about Lockham, about Latham and Locke 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever this happens. Now, a good example of this is, and something to understand, is what I call the difference between intentions and goals, right? So this is my terminology. I use transition goals as goals that have a so in them, that are mediated by the rational mind, things that just seem reasonable enough that people most likely will agree with you that they make sense. But this is not what you need. You need intentions. This is my terminology again, which is something that you really want to do that is unmotivated, unrealistic, and they're really mediated by the limbic system, which is, you know, the subconscious side of things, right? Becoming a millionaire is a goal. Achieving financial independence is an intention. So here is a very good example. Imagine that you like tech and you want to start a tech business, a startup. Well, if you follow my route and you really think elite, you say, well, then let's just start it. Let's just do it. The average person will study computer science so they can be hired at a startup, so you can develop technical and business skills to eventually, maybe down the line, 10 years later, they start a startup. This is not how you do it. What you do it is that you just go and start a business. When I wanted to become when I wanted to get into private equity and become a director, I literally said, let's just apply for director jobs. That's it. That's the only thing I did. It was very weird for a 27-year-old analyst in Deloitte to ask for private equity director jobs. I got rejected from all of them. Some of them, though, really gave me a chance to do some tests and interviews and stuff. And I even got to the final stages until they realized that I didn't have 15 years of experience or 20 years of experience. I had 2. Until a series of events happened, a new fund opened. I was in the right place at the right time, saying the right thing, so I got it. But I literally said, I want this. This is what I'm going for. So in your life, how many times have you set it for transition goals instead of going directly from the intention, directly for what you wanted? Tell me in the comments. I'm sure you have this. We've hoped to have this in the past. Can you think of a time you did it? Because this is very normal. This is what we have been taught to think. All right, so Richard Branson, probably one of the most exciting entrepreneurs ever to exist, has this quote of, "My interest in life comes from setting myself huge, apparently unachievable challenges and trying to rise above them." Now, back to this slide. When you are a hero and you set an intention and you go so quick towards that intention, you are going to fail. Most times you're going to fail, right? All of these interviews that I did, I was failing like one after the other for 2 years straight. I failed 2.5 years straight until I got it right. If I had not seen myself as a hero, I wouldn't have persevered. Well, this is the same. If you set yourself incredible and achievable challenges and you fuck it up, which is to be expected, at least in the beginning, you will never achieve them. You need to see yourself as hero on a mission. Hercules was killing lions with his own bare hands. He didn't kill cats. He went directly for the lion. Does that make sense? We gotta go hard against the most important thing that we believe is meaningful to us, and then don't judge ourselves. And now questions to shape your vision. How can you make your vision 10 times bigger, bolder, more heroic? How would anyone care about that vision? And are you currently chasing transition goals or final intentions? Transition goal is 10K a month. Final intention is financial independence. Now, imagine that you have absolutely no skill whatsoever in business. Well, then a good intention would be 7 figures. You don't need to go for financial independence yet. As first, aim for 7 figures, and then you will aim for 8 and 9, and eventually whatever you want to aim for, because your potential is infinite, only bound by the laws of physics. Does this make sense? Let me know in the comments. Are we on board? All right, cool. Awesome. So we got elite identity, which is an elite, well-curated collection of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that are telling us exactly how to best adapt to the environment that we are navigating. Then step 2 is, listen, I'm going to go after the thing that I really want. I'm going to think 10x bigger. I'm going to create a vision so enticing that I am pulled forward, so that I have no other choice but to become the hero that I initially said myself to become, right? Then what? Is this enough? No, of course it's not enough. Elite execution. This is what most people get wrong, because working super hard, very motivated on the wrong thing is a fantastic way of burning out. So we need to avoid burnout. How? By understanding how to really execute. Now, most of what I teach about execution goes against the productivity execution, agile, or productivity training, right? So this is my framework, but it works very well. So make a note of it. First of all, we don't set yearly, 3 years, or 5-year plans, because they get updated very quickly, especially in the AI-driven era. You may have a mental image of where you want to be in 1, 3, and 5 years, with drawing plans where that time range is a futile exercise in self-delusion. You have no idea where you're going to be in 5 years. For two reasons. Why? Because the environment changes very quickly, right? Things, as I said, the plans become outdated every 3 months. You have ChatGPT 5, 6, 7 that rocks your world, and then you have to readapt. But also because if you're doing the right things and you're compounding happens exponentially. And our brains cannot compute compounding growth. So if you're doing all the right things, you're probably going to be way better in 5 years than you initially expected. So you should not care that much about the long term, except for setting the vision, right? So what I always tell my clients is, set a decade-long vision, something you wholeheartedly believe in, something that will make your life, literally help you bring to the world a change you really believe in. Once you got it, we focus on what are the next 12 weeks looking like, the next 3 months. What is the thing that you want to achieve within the next 3 months? And only focus on those 3 months. And then plan in weekly increments, because weekly goals are our execution drivers. So we really plan in a decade. We set the systems for 12 weeks, but then we execute on a weekly basis. And this is the best execution system because it allows you to move very quickly. The average entrepreneur is distracted, doesn't really know what he's working towards, and is boiling ocean, is not moving fast enough. Speed is at quality of every elite performer and elite entrepreneur, moving fast. But you can only move fast if you know where you're going. If you have no idea where you're going, you cannot move fast. So this is the framework that I suggest you guys adopt. 10 years for the vision, that your heroic story is going to last 10 years. If you do the right things, you're probably going to do it in 3, 4, 5 years, right? Because things are going to compound much quickly. But let's set that 10-year goal. Then quarterly goals for execution and weekly goals for, well, quarterly goals for planning and weekly goals for execution. Does it make sense? Any questions on this? Are we all clear? Yes, yes, yes. All right, cool. Then, how we set goals? Well, we don't set SMART goals. Let's just get out of the equation, because SMART goals, which is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, they're dumb. They're dumb because they go against the psychological research in what makes a goal actually exciting to pursue. If a goal is easy, attainable, we don't really go for it. It has to sit outside of our circle of competence. It has to be sexy. It has to be something that really gets us out of our comfort zone, that really forces us to pay attention, that takes us to the next level. Otherwise, we won't care. So we have to set challenging goals, but not so lofty that they're impossible to attain or demotivate you. And there's a very good equation by Pierre Steele, which is a psychologist from a Canadian psychologist, that talks about motivation as expectancy multiplied by value, subdivided by impulsiveness and delay. So in essence, a great 12-week goal is something you highly desired, you're expected to get, it is worth waiting for, and doesn't take too long to attain. Now, do you see this? Does this equation look like anything similar? Isn't this a little bit like the value equation by Alex Hormozi, which is value is the outcome you want, the likelihood of achievement, subdivided by the time delay? Well, this is my theory is that he inspired himself in this motivation equation, right? Which is sound practice because this is psychological research, right? So this is where he got his value equation. So we set big goals on the macro and big goals on the micro. We're constantly expanding our ability to get things done. And then what? And then what are we working? Like, how do we select the stretch goals? Well, the first thing we do is to identify what are the big dominoes that are standing in our way, the big obstacles blocking our way. Let's say that your operations are a mess. Well, the big dominoes to hire a COO, to hire a project manager, to hire someone that allows you to fix it. Let's say you don't have leads. But what do? You create a reliable marketing system. Let's say that your sleep is abysmal. What do? You fix your sleep, right? You don't work on the things that are not important, because if you work on the things that are not important, you waste time. You are not operating like an elite entrepreneur. The only way to win is to consistently do the things that need to be done, not the things that you want to do. And the things that need to be done is the shortest path towards toppling the big domino, the big rock that is preventing you from moving forward, which is what I call the highest leverage path. So for instance, you want to hire a CEO, what do? You ask for references from other biz owners. You set a hiring campaign, you hire a firm, you basically pay to have that solved. If you need a replicable marketing system, well, you buy it from someone else, or you decide on one channel and pour dollars until it works at scale. If you need to fix your sleep, what do? You get your sleep tested, create your sleep sanctuary, and find your ideal supplement stack. This is how you execute like an elite performer, by moving so fast on the right things that you have no choice but to win. This is how you make failure impossible. So the two golden questions here is, what is the number one problem preventing you from achieving your big domino? What is the thing that is preventing you from not hiring a COO, from not making your lead flow work, from fixing your sleep? What is the thing? And then what is the fastest way to solve this bottleneck for good? What it literally is on the CEO is very simple, because if you have the money, just hire a firm to solve the COO problem like I did. But you can do all sorts of things. The idea is that any effort directed towards something other than the biggest obstacle is wasted effort. If you spend your time polishing your website when you have a marketing problem, you're wasting time. If your operations are a mess and you're working on marketing, most likely you're wasting time. Always focus on the most important thing. As Mark Zuckerberg said, the question I ask myself almost every day is, am I doing the most important thing I could be doing? See, there's patterns, guys. Success leaves clues. There's patterns. We study them. That's my job. I study what all these guys do, and then I teach it to our clients. And this is a fantastic proof of what I just said. Now, things that normally go wrong, right? Imagine that you understand this, you really understand what the bottleneck is, you go to the fastest you can in the highest leverage path towards it. What can go wrong? Three things literally go wrong. One is you do not set the right systems to sustain progress. So for instance, on the CEO example, right? You hire the person, but you don't train the person. You withhold key information of the person of the job. You do not pay well, so the COO basically fails. So you worked on the right thing, but not in the right way. Or let's say on the replicable marketing system, right? You use it, you buy it, or you learn it, you start getting leads, you get a few sales, and then you shift focus to fulfillment, and then what happens? Leads dry up. I went through this years ago. It sucks, right? Things were working, stopped working, couldn't make it work again. So first, pitfall number one is setting up the right systems to sustain progress. Pitfall number two is not sacrificing the trivial. If you know what needs to be done, why would you devote time to doing what doesn't need to be done? Average performers, elite entrepreneurs are constantly prioritizing learning, building, doing the important thing, but not the urgent. And average performers are doing email, social media, blogs, news, catch-up, events, whatever stuff. This is very important because your ability to execute it strategically is directly correlated to your goals. If you know what you do, but you don't do it, or you do it the wrong way, or you just get distracted every time you attempt on doing it, you're going to get washed out. And finally, not elevating standards weekly. The world is exponential. And if you are seeking to improve every single day, at some point, you will just destroy your competition. Because most people never really track their performance and then don't know how to become better every day. This is what is going to allow you to move faster than you have ever moved before. Because you plan on something, you perform, you analyze how the performance went, you make improvements to the performance, and you set a new standard. Over time, you grow exponentially. And this is how you do it. You consistently look at how you did today and how can you improve tomorrow. How you did today, how you improve tomorrow. And every week you update your standards. And 3 questions to shift your execution. But what is the big domino you're going to tackle in the next 3 months? What is the thing that is going to make the most progress? For me, I'm happy to tell you, I'm going to be, in the next 2 months, I'm going to be recording 50 videos for YouTube. Why? Because I've never really been intense enough on YouTube, and we need to hit critical mass. I'm going to create 50 videos like crazy in April and May. I have no doubts. And all my team knows that. And I've hired people just to help me with this. So a big chunk of the marketing is going towards YouTube domination. Also, what is the shortest path towards achieving that domino, right? If the domino to me is getting monetized on YouTube in order to have the algorithm work for us, what is the shortest path towards achieving that big domino? Creating 50 videos. How many hours per week are you currently devoting to it? Well, in my case, to YouTube is 12 hours per week, right now. And this is how you win. Does that make sense? Ladies and gents, are we clear on what does elite execution look like? Let me know in the comments. All right. Awesome. And well then, this is how you win. This is a recap of the session. This is the mindset of elite entrepreneurs. First, you make your identity elite by creating empowering self-talk that reminds you of the heroic mission you're in, that lets you know or proves to you that everything that happens to you is an undeniable proof that you are a hero on a mission. No matter how hard things get, you are going to win. Then the shift number 2 is make your vision lit. So think big enough and say no to everything that does not align with the vision. If you are seeking mediocre opportunities, you will not stay the hero you thought you were. You must go big. You must really devote your next 10 years, let's say, to build your business into a powerhouse that delivers an impact that exceeds just making a few bucks, right? Remember, I've given you my example of building a coaching program or building the most elite performance academy for entrepreneurs in the world. You see how those two things there's at least a 10x difference between building a coaching program, which is very popular these days, and building an institute for peak performance, the most elite in the world. I started this 6 years ago, right? So before the coaching craze. But right from the start, the ambition was there. And finally, make your execution elite. So prioritize the big dominoes with full focus and intensity. And this is what I have for you today about identity shifts, vision shifts, and execution shifts. And this is how you win, by making your identity, your vision, and your execution elite. And now it's time for Q&A. Mubu asked me to, even though we have the Performance Institute is closed at the moment, although we're opening a few slots next week, you can have a free performance audit, at least 5 of you, if you book it through that link, right? It's a performance audit, so it's not an application. We're all going to meet with you and tell you, understand and diagnose what the vision is, what things we could change, right? And later on, if you're interested, we could discuss. But only 5 of you, and now the floor is open for any questions you may have.
I just want to add one quick thing. Guys, I highly recommend this. I just had my call with Leon right before our call. So I paid Leon for, he's basically my mentor and my coach. He's been helping me throughout the most difficult times. I had a record month this month. a month that I was not expecting to happen this fast, something that I've been trying to reach for years, guys. Like I'm talking about stuck back against the wall, hitting my head, so stressed, losing my mind, and I hit it. And I cannot believe I bought something that I'm going to be announcing soon that I've been looking at for since I was a little kid. And it's possible because of Leon. So you guys should definitely take up this performance audit.
Thank you, man. Honor to serve, as you know. You're elite, and being on in your journey is incredibly rewarding and meaningful. Awesome, gents, let's go. So, tips on how to not fall back into bad habits, cheap dopamine. Well, the thing is, Hussein, first you got to lock in what that elite identity is, and that implies going very deep into why did you even start the business in the first place, right? That is automatically going to, once you unlock that, you're naturally going to gravitate towards doing the right things. It's not going to be perfect because no human is perfect, but you will probably eliminate 80% of the stuff that may be holding you down. When you are very clear on the mission, you have no time for wasting. Like imagine, for instance, that you have, I don't know, imagine that someone told you that if you drive to next town within 20 minutes, you can save your mother's life. Would you waste time or would you drive as fast as you can? Well, this is what I mean by having a mission. Create a mission so powerful that 80% gets eliminated. And the remaining 20% would still happen, right? You must have systems for that. Systems is rules of behavior that nudge you into the right direction, right? That can be internal systems, so rules of thumbs, if-then relationship in your head. Every time I'm tired, I tend to, bang a bag of Doritos. Well, let's just not buy a bag of Doritos. A very simple example, but that is a systematic relationship between cause and effect. I'm tired, my willpower goes down, I do the wrong thing. Let's make sure that I cannot, that I don't buy the Doritos, right? So just to be clear, nail down the vision, really understand what does purpose actually mean and how to really drive that change in the world, and set systems to eliminate everything else, the things that you still gravitate towards, the thing that caught you off guard when willpower is low. This is what I said, that increasing performance every week. Every week you jot down the things that did not go the way you want them to go, and you increase the following week. Does that make sense, Hussein? Awesome, cool. Oli, what is the biggest obstacle you encounter when trying to make your mindset elite? Basically, now we got to go deep into, psychoanalysis. But when you're trying to make your mindset elite, it is very useful to start using the present as a tool to reframing the past in order to become the myth you want to become, right? If you want to really drive that heroic version of yourself, you have to review everything that happens in the past, the things that are driving your negative instinctual patterns under a positive light, to understand exactly why do you have negative charges in your psyche, things that you're ashamed of, that you don't like to watch. This is called, in Jungian terms, the shadow. Look at the shadow, and over time, accept and integrate, so that your performance naturally moves up as you start removing subconscious blockages. So it's all about removing subconscious blockages in light of the myth that you are trying to build, right? How to do this? Well, we use CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Basically, it's deep psychological reprogramming. Does that answer your question, Oli? Cool. All right. So it's all about understanding what's in your head that is not aligned with heroic mission and aligning it. How do you approach vacation or time off to stay sharp? That's a fantastic question. So the problem with elite performers is not that they don't know what to do or they don't work hard enough, is that they don't rest hard enough. You have to work hard and also rest hard. So I'm all about approaching vacation as an opportunity to stay sharp. Like, instance, tomorrow I'm going on a think week. 4 days, right? But I'm going to a deserted island off the coast of Spain. No signal. Why? Because I don't want to know anything about the world. I need to think and I need to process. And I need to understand what happened in Q1 because we hired 8 people. So I need to make sure that the plan that I've set for Q2 makes sense and all sorts of things, right? But it is only because I'm unplugging that I can come back sharper, that I can really know what to do next next quarter. So a constant feedback loop to become better every day. Yes, constant, every single day. Well, yes, every day, every week, and even every ring-fence session, every 90 minutes. I have something called the After Action Report, which is taken directly from the Navy SEAL playbook, which is a very kind of performance-oriented review that I do every day, and everyone in my company does, in order to understand how to become better the following day. And at the end of the week, I do the same, right? So I also have the weekly planning session and weekly review. So I know that what the KPIs are in order to be better next week. So yes, daily and weekly, and of course quarterly, which is what I'm going to be doing these days. Make sense? Clear? Exactly. Framework self. Yes, that's it. That we give our client. We have a tool, right, called the Selfmastered dashboard that allows us to get accountability on steroids. Awesome. You got it. Cool. What else, gents? Anything else that you want to cover? Anything that may not have been addressed, or are we clear? Are you asking a question? All right. Well, cool. As I said, if you want to have next week a short performance audit to see where you are and how to make Q2 the best quarter in your life so far, book the call. We'll make sure this happens and you have clarity. And whenever we open new slots, you have a chance to apply. And if not, what is what's your approach to becoming more focused during the 1.5 time blocks? What do you mean? Approach to becoming more focused. It's all about optimization. You got to optimize everything, right? So when we said in the beginning here, optimizing yourself to the fullest implies really diving deep into spiritual fitness, mental fitness, physiological fitness. So there's all sorts of reasons why you wouldn't be able to focus for 90 minutes. Maybe your brain is not conditioned for it. Maybe your psychology or your mind is not conditioned for it. There's all sorts of ways or things that could prevent you from going hard 90 minutes, right? So the goal is to find it. The first thing we do is we run a 360 analysis on our clients, but nail your physiology, so your sleep, exercise, meditation, breath work, and nutrition, and that is a huge first step. And then that should already give you a good chance of getting to 90 minutes. Hussein, on the links of Master Utopia, when you saw the email says the value seems to be invalid. Is that a calendar link? So maybe it's because the email is invalid. I don't know. I'll check it out. Thank you. Yeah, Psycho, you need to take a break, or does it depend on productivity? Every 90 minutes, I take a 20-minute, 15 to 30 minutes break, right? 20 minutes on average, in which I would have a protein shake or do some breath work or to meditate or call a friend or whoever, right? But not check TikTok or Twitter, if you know what I mean. So 90 minutes on, 15 minutes off, 90 minutes on, 15 minutes off, several times a day, several cycles. So you can be crazy effective. And it depends on productivity. It depends more on the hour of the day, right? So at the end of the day, it is very hard, or this is harder to get 90 minutes straight of focus. You can do it, right? When you train yourself, we train our clients to do so, you can get there. But otherwise, it is hard. So it depends on productivity. It depends also on the timing, depends on your DNA, genetic type. It depends on all sorts of things, which is why we really recommend that you optimize the hell out of yourself, because that is how you win. Awesome, gents. Hopefully this was useful. Glad to see this is the case. As I said, apply this, make your identity elite, make your vision elite, make your execution elite. Really understand that you are limited time on Earth, and the sooner you understand that you have the ability and the capacity to make an absolute elite heroic story for your life, the sooner you will start doing it. And if you want our help somehow, book the free performance audit and see if there's anything we can help you with. We'll be more than happy to do so. And of course, Wiz, always an absolute pleasure being here.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so freaking much, man. You're absolutely amazing. It really tied into our conversation that we just had prior. You're right.
I tell you. But it couldn't be otherwise, because it's always the same, right? It's always is at the same level. It's always the same. When
Yeah.
you hit a specific revenue, seven figures, eight figures, it's always the same. It's okay, how can I expand the vision? How can I expand the identity? What are the thoughts and emotions and the behaviors that I need to embody at this level to get to the next one? Because I need to
Yeah.
be a different person. Then how does that tie into the vision? Do I need to actualize the vision? Do I need to think about new things to be done or refine it somehow so that my new identity is better suited for that? And then, of course, you have the execution. All right, what is the thing that I need to be doing? How can I reduce the scope of what I'm paying attention to so I can be incredibly intense to the things that matter most? It's always the same. Expand your head, expand the vision, narrow your efforts. And this is how you get to 100K, $1 million a month, 10 million a month.
You're exceptional. Your mind is amazing, bro. Thank you so much. I'm gonna add that to my whiteboard right now too. Otherwise, guys, thank you. Everyone say thank you to Leon in the chat. W's in the chat. Don't forget to shoot him a thank you on Twitter as well too. Guys, he's exceptional. Glad that you guys all listened through the entirety. All right, Leon, we'll chat soon. Take it easy, man.
Bye-bye.